Good afternoon, folks at home and those in the chambers. I'm Councilmember Tui with the Safe Community Committee meeting on August 28th, 2024. Tonight, we have one main issue that we're going to be discussing, and that's our Vision Zero Everett Comprehensive Safety Action Plan. And I'm really happy to have Corey Hurt with us today, our city traffic engineer, and I'm going to just turn it over to Corey. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember Tui. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you about Vision Zero Everett, our comprehensive safety plan to reduce and eliminate serious injury and fatal crashes on our transportation system. I'm Corey Hurt, City Traffic Engineer, and I want to start by introducing a couple members of our consultant team from Kimley Horn that were selected to help create the plan for Everett. Ed Koltanowski, Project Director, working right here in the Everett office at Colby and Hewitt. He's a traffic engineer, and he's been a business owner and principal engineer in the city and lived in the city of Everett for over 30 years. Ed is a past Transportation Advisory Committee member, and traffic safety in the city is very personal to him. Alyssa Gaston, also on our consultant team, is a traffic engineer at Kimley Horn, also here in Everett, that has worked on safety projects in multiple states and is passionate about making the streets safer in the community that which she works. So last year, Everett was awarded $788,000 Safe Streets and Roads for All grant, SS4A, to create a comprehensive safety action plan, a Vision Zero plan for Everett. Vision Zero outlines the process for developing strategies specifically tailored to meet local priorities, needs, and issues with the ambitious goal of reducing the number of injury and fatal crashes to zero. The Vision Zero Safety Action Plan will require a comprehensive, data-driven approach to effectively evaluate a list of proven strategies and projects for adoption by the city for future planning outcomes. Robust data collection and analysis of the city's roadways will be conducted and will propose safety improvements, development of a high-risk network, mitigation strategies, and design concepts with corridor project recommendations. Also, an outreach program will be created to communicate internally and externally regarding the goals of the Vision Zero plan. The final document will present an actionable plan to improve the safety for all roadway users to significantly reduce or eliminate roadway fatalities in the city of Everett. Crashes in Everett have been following the state of Washington trends. While the overall numbers of crashes are falling, the severity is increasing, with the rise in serious injury and fatal crashes. For the past 5 years of available data, there were 9,730 crashes overall on Everett streets. These crashes do not include limited access highways like I-5, Highway 526, and Highway 529 north of the Snohomish River. During that time, there were 44 fatal crashes and 207 serious injury crashes. And while these numbers are smaller, each severe crash has a huge impact on the injured, their families, and their loved ones. These are the crashes that Vision Zero will focus on eliminating. The zero death vision acknowledges that even one death in our transportation system is unacceptable and focuses on safety and mobility of all road users. The wheel you see to the left is a graphical representation of the safe systems approach. Reaching zero deaths requires implementation of an approach which is founded on the principles that humans make mistakes and human bodies are limited in their ability to tolerate crash impacts. In a safe system, those mistakes should never lead to death. Applying the safe systems approach involves anticipating human mistakes by designing and managing an infrastructure to keep the risk of a mistake low, and when the mistake leads to a crash, the impact on the human body doesn't result in a fatality or serious injury. There are 6 principles that form the basis of the safe systems approach. Deaths and serious injuries are unacceptable, that humans make mistakes, that humans are vulnerable, responsibility is shared, and safety is proactive, and redundancy is crucial. The safe systems approach requires a supporting safety culture that places safety first and foremost in the road system in our investment decisions. To achieve a zero deaths vision, everyone must accept that fatalities and serious injuries are unacceptable and preventable. On the right, the SS4A self-certification eligibility checklist. These are the conditions of the award grant requirements that need to be met for our plan of Vision Zero Everett. I think we can all agree these are components of a successful plan. The communication plan is already under development. Discovery meetings have been scheduled with key city staff to explore existing and internal and external relationships, including community-based organizations, council and administration, police, emergency services, and other individuals in our community. The approach to communication will center around some key principles, not least of which is to meet people where they are in person. There will be interviews and listening sessions, public and neighborhood events, meetings and message platforms. There'll be language services provided, web updates, online open houses, social media, and mailers. On September 10th from 1 to 3, you're all invited, we will have our first stakeholder workshop called our Safety Launch that will initiate the planning of a Vision Zero Everett in our community. The Safety Launch will bring a group with diverse opinions of the problems and the solutions to make sure that all voices are heard and respected.
Corey, excuse me, can you tell me a little bit more about that meeting, where it's located and what time? Do you have that?
Yes, it'll be from 1 to 3 on September 10th, and it will be in the Warehouser Room at Everett Station.
Okay.
Thank you for the question.
I'll make sure I announce that today at the council.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. One of the key aspects of the plan is policy development. To develop a sound policy that bridges the gap from where we are to where we want to be. And it will start with a Vision Zero framework and commitment. Usually it involves a council resolution that proclaims our intent to achieve a significant reduction in serious injury and fatal collisions. The current SS4A grant will develop a sound policy for managing and legislating safe speeds using the state of practice in the industry. Recently, there's been some published policy for the development of safe speeds in urban areas. For 25 years, we focused on the 85th percentile speed of 25 years ago. Modern practice takes into account more dense urban areas, looking at both operating and mean speeds, average speeds, lane widths, street parking, traffic volumes, and numbers of driveways, zoning, and many other factors, and proposes a safe speed. Another one of the things I hear is how unsafe drivers are traveling through our neighborhoods. Vision Zero will develop a neighborhood traffic calming policy that works for Everett residents. Vision Zero Everett will look at applicable design standards and identify where changes can be made to improve safety and develop a complete streets checklist for every capital improvement project to make sure that every project that is constructed is with alignment with the safety first design philosophy. Finally, when the plan is published, a data dashboard will be initiated that will report online quarterly progress towards the city's goal of zero injuries and fatalities. A successful plan will require data collection to conduct the safety analysis of existing conditions and historical trends to provide a baseline level of crashes involving fatalities and serious injuries across the city. Analysis of locations where there are crashes, the severity, as well as contributing factors like crash types. There'll be analysis of the systemic and specific safety needs and geographic or locational data using maps of high-risk locations. Data collection will include vehicle, pedestrian, and bicycle counts, speed studies and evaluation, crash history and crash data analysis, and we'll also use big data, large-scale traffic data to validate volumes on local streets and origin and destination to help make decisions. This also includes public outreach data analysis to make sure that we are reaching those communities that will most benefit from transportation safety improvements. This includes diversity and equity data to ensure our solutions represent the needs of the entire community. Part of the requirements of the plan are the scoping and development of a prioritized safety project list. This includes high-risk network projects, streets and corridors where the most severe collisions occur. There are also systemic and spot safety projects to address pedestrian safety, bicycle safety, and other spot safety projects at intersections and high crash curves. The plan will also address early adoption strategies that can be quickly implemented to provide maximum benefit. One of the task items will include a neighborhood traffic calming policy that works in Everett. Neighborhood traffic calming is something we hear a lot about. There's real concern from people that live in Everett and that raise families here that our neighborhood streets are no longer safe to walk across, to ride a bicycle on, that cars are loud and fast and taxing our quality of life. Traffic calming is more than just speed humps. There's dozens of treatments that are proven to reduce and harmonize speeds. Every transportation capital improvement project designed in Everett today incorporates traffic calming in its design. The plan will formalize what traffic calming strategies will be in Everett, that Everett will be using, and they'll be state of practice, seek early adoption strategies, and importantly, how future improvements could be funded going forward. As part of the Safe Streets for All grant, a speed management policy will be developed and applied at up to 2 spot locations. It became clear that a supplemental grant would be needed to complete the efforts to evaluate safe speed limits for every arterial and collector in the city, which is my goal. Tomorrow's the deadline for our grant application. We'll be submitting a supplemental application under the SS4A program to validate existing speed limits and recommend speed changes throughout Everett. The supplemental grant will also evaluate a 20-mile-per-hour residential speed limit citywide. The safety improvements that we're making now are going to be harder and more transformative than ever. Complicating this is the difficult transformation with the recent increase in fatality and serious injury crashes. With limited resources and personnel, every strategy, every effort must count towards achieving our goal. This requires deliberate thought, meaningful analysis, careful planning, and a strong commitment to a variety of traffic safety strategies. We look forward to the Vision Zero plan development and look forward to the next year or so that it will take to put together. So that concludes my presentation. I would be happy to answer any questions about what we have planned.
Well, thank you, Corey. I just want to make a comment that, we hear over and over about, certain of our roads, how the speed limits are just, they're going 10 miles over, and that's, puts them at 45 miles an hour, like on Mukilteo Boulevard and Evergreen Way. So I'm so glad that we're doing this and have this opportunity to really dig in and really get some real good data as well as some really good solutions. I think our constituents will really enjoy this. And when do you propose that we might see something come back to us? What's the earliest?
I look forward to coming back to the committee to reporting on our early findings for crash history and severity. I would expect that we will, after the safety launch, there will be at least 3 or 4 months where we'll have a data collection period and policy development period. So
Okay.
look forward to coming back.
Yeah, so sometime next year.
Yes.
Midway through or so. Okay,
Sure.
That's great. Yeah, look, I'm really anxious to hear all that. So thank you. Councilmember Bader.
Thanks, Councilmember Toohey. So call me a skeptic, if I won't surprise you. But I guess I probably am one of those people who doesn't necessarily accept the premise of Vision Zero, that it's possible to drive traffic deaths down to zero. A significant number of traffic deaths occur, I assume, because of DUIs, would probably not be an overstatement. And yet the state has shown an unwillingness to seriously criminalize DUIs to the point of, considering making it a third strike or something. So in that context, I really fear that what we're driving toward is a system that kind of creates a trap for otherwise law-abiding citizens by creating relatively low or frustratingly low speeds for people who just want to get around the city. So I'm concerned about the impact of where for instance, a 20-mile-an-hour residential street, I suspect will almost be universally disobeyed. We struggle right now for people to drive 25, to get people to drive 25 on, except where we do other traffic calming measures, which I think are, been very useful and great. But where else in the nation have we seen that drop in traffic fatalities where more criminal enforcement or law enforcement wasn't a significant part of that effort?
Yeah, I know City of Seattle, certainly looking closer to home, touts their safety improvements over the last decade and the drop in injury and fatality crashes that they've had. Granted, they did have a rather large transportation levy that made a lot of that possible. I also would say that that there is some policy improvement or some policy that is going to have to be developed at the state level. Not everything can be done at the city level. And that will be outlined in the plan that, these are the types of things that we can address. I do think that Vision Zero is a difficult goal to attain. I think it's going to take a combination of sound policy and improvements in vehicles and some regulatory changes over the course of my lifetime to make that happen. But I think ultimately it is the goal that we need to strive for long term.
Pointing to more of the data, the chart here on slide 9, again, I support traffic calming. I certainly do see problems in the neighborhoods, but doesn't the data itself kind of belie that the issue really is the neighborhood? The number of local street injury crashes is a minuscule fraction of arterial street injury crashes.
Yeah, I think one important thing to look at there, and I would agree that you could look at that and say, well, there's only a small number of serious injury and fatal crashes that occur on local streets in Everett. And that's a good thing, because that means that our local streets are relatively speaking safer than our arterial network. But the arterial network also carries about 85% of the vehicle traffic as well. So I do think the combination of higher speeds and more traffic, it needs to be taken into account. But I did want to include that slide just to show that neighborhood traffic calming is important. But the real issue we need to address is on our arterial system.
Yeah, and maybe I'm misperceiving that data somewhat too. I assume in my neighborhood, Corey, Walnut, East Grand, do those qualify as arterials, even though I think people see those as kind of in the neighborhood, right?
Yes, yeah. Some residential streets that are collector arterials and minor arterials do have a bit of a local street character, but they do carry significant enough traffic to be codified as arterials.
Yeah, so I think maybe the public mindset might be perceiving Walnut or East Grand as a local street, which with problems, obviously, whereas technically it's a collector arterial or what have you, right? Right.
Yeah, and I would agree that certainly that not all of the traffic calming things that work well on local streets are appropriate for streets like Walnut and our arterial network.
Though many of the neighbors might be might like that idea. And then just two other points. One in terms of again, as a casual observer of, especially when we hear about fatal crashes and those turn up in the Herald or elsewhere, it seems to me lately in the last few years, most of the fatal crashes involving pedestrians, the driver has not been cited, so I suspect it's in fact, the only one I can remember recently was that DUI that occurred on Evergreen Way, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. I think where the guy was from the Navy base and recently got sentenced. But so if my casual observations are correct, wouldn't that indicate a far larger problem than just, dealing with vehicle traffic, but other situations? Especially, I mean, how you control pedestrians is going to be infinitely harder than how you would control drivers, I assume. Right?
Yeah, it's, certainly, pedestrian crashes, that's one of the things that digging into the data is it will validate whether or not, what are the contributing circumstances to those crashes? Is it impairment? Is it pedestrians fail to yield, or is it undetermined, or is it driver at fault? And we can work with, there'll be a lot of community-based organizations involved in this process as well that can help with suggestions on how we can address the kinds of things that might lead to some of these crashes. So, yes, it's certainly, I expect that all of that will be considered and why we need to do as much outreach to the community as we're going to do.
My final comment would be, and I kind of alluded to it, if enforcement isn't a big part of this effort, I'm skeptical that it will yield much, because whether it's more DUI enforcement, more speeding enforcement, more traffic light enforcement, which we know we've already got pushback from the public, at least when we as we brought it toward implementation. I just want to say I'm personally skeptical that we'll see much result if we don't see enforcement as a key component of driving traffic deaths and serious injuries down. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't have any other questions, so if we want to move on.
Sure.
Okay,
I do have a couple slides about
great.
photo enforcement, kind of leading into that. Thank you for the segue. So I did get a question about where we were at with photo enforcement as far as overall numbers. We don't have any demographic data. We have not broken that down at all yet by zip code, but we expect to have that data soon. But in the Horizon School Speed Zone, we ran it for about a month and a half last year, and we're going to start it again next Friday. And that's when grades 1 through 5 Mukilteo School Districts start back in school. We were right about where we had anticipated with, we had expected 50.1 daily citations, and the end of last year we were at 61.6, so definitely within what I would expect as a range. A little bit higher than projected, but not unexpected given the posted speed of 35. I will say we expect this number to continue to drop. We are already doing outreach. We sent out an email blast today saying expect it to start next Friday so we don't catch the public unaware. We're going to have a social media post next week, and then it'll be in the Boeing newsletter as well next week. So we're doing our outreach, trying to let people know that the system is getting going again. I do think there have been some I-5 impacts that we're seeing, that we are getting more cut-through traffic from the construction work, and even last year, and I think that probably drove more traffic onto Casino Road and into that school zone. So this second graphic is a little bit surprising to me. Broadway and 16th red light enforcement. We were anticipating about 13.3 red light citations per day. We averaged from June 10th to August 24th, 4.7. But what we are seeing is an impact, I think, from the Highway 529 project and the congestion that occurs. We rejected about a third of the alleged violations during this period because traffic is getting stuck in the intersection, and this isn't used for block-the-box style enforcement. So I do expect these numbers to normalize and then continue to drop, because we're still at 4.7 per day. We are still above the level that we expect to be at 1 year, so.
And do we know when the 529 project is going to complete? Is it a whole year?
I am hearing right now that they're going to open that bridge in mid-October,
Oh, okay. Well,
and
that's
that they
faster
will
than I thought.
open the last mile of HOV lane on I-5 sometime in October. So we're
Okay.
hoping for a lot of relief come October.
Okay, yes, that would be nice. Okay.
And so what's next? So they're out wiring up Rucker and 41st right now, and 112th and Evergreen, they're doing the same. The systems may be turned on for the warning period as soon as next week, but I think that's probably a bit hopeful, probably the following week. So those two will be turned on soon. Contractor knows they're about a month behind, and we've been pushing them to get these up and running. And then following that, over the course of the next month, we anticipate Evergreen and Casino to come online, and 4th and Evergreen and Everett Mallway and 7th. So we were targeting August, and now we're looking more like September.
Okay. I was wondering, because I'm on 41st and Rucker a lot, and I keep saying, I don't see any lights flashing. Okay, good.
Safe driver, Judy.
Well, not for me, but for other people.
okay.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, we'll anticipate some of those results back, and I think you have a question.
Yeah, just one quick one.
Yeah.
I know I totally misunderstood the Broadway 16th one. I thought the cameras were going to catch people running the red going east-west on 16th, but I understand it's north-south on Broadway. Is that?
It is, yes.
Okay, gotcha. And then for the other 5, is it the street that's listed first that will have the red light cameras, or how does that work?
Well,
Oh,
so,
northbound, southbound, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
Rucker will be northbound,
Yeah.
southbound. 112th, it'll be on 112th.
Okay.
Casino will be northbound and eastbound.
Gotcha, okay, thank you.
Yep.
Sorry. Okay, much appreciated. So I can run the reds going east to west. No, just kidding. Thanks.
Great. Well, that's all. I don't have any more other questions. Do you? Thank you so much, Corey, for that update. Really appreciate it.
All right, thank
Yeah.
you.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And that, do we want to talk about next month?
Yeah, always. Of course, next month we will have budget committee.
Okay, so we might
Yes.
not have a meeting then. Yeah.
Yes, we wouldn't
Okay.
have safe communities, so it would be more for, I just wrote September, for October
Okay.
would be the next one. And, yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I know what you guys want to talk about. I'm just working on getting it done.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Sounds good.
we'll touch base again and later,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, for that, we are complete for then. Thank you so much. All right.